Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Comedy this hour, Lucille-Ball, Richard Denning in an episode of My Favorite Husband, going back 73 years to September 30th, 1949, the Woman's Club election. And we thank you for tuning in. On this TGI Friday, this is the 30th day of September. It's a sad day in radio history, and we'll tell you why in a few moments. This is the 273rd day of the year, 92 days remaining until we get to 2023. World's first commercial hydroelectric power plant on this date in 1882 went into service on the Fox River in Appleton, Wisconsin. It was later known as the Appleton Edison Light Company. Hubert Cecil Booth patented the vacuum cleaner on this date in 1901. In 1927, Babe Ruth became the first baseball player to hit 60 home runs in a season. The Hoover Dam astride the border between Arizona and Nevada, dedicated on this date in 1935, still working to this day despite low water levels. The League of Nations unanimously outlawed intentional bombings of civilian populations in 1938. Britain first began evacuating citizens on this date in 1939 in anticipation of war. Premiering on nationwide radio for the first time on this date in 1940, Captain Midnight.
The Scully Oil Company presents Captain Midnight. Captain Midnight, brought to you every day, Monday through Friday at the same time by the Scully Oil Company, Scully Jobbers and Dealers. And now to Captain Midnight.
A clip of the transcription edition of the show, originating at WGN in Chicago. The program would air for 9 years nationwide, airing over mutual, except for 1943 to 1945, where it aired over the NBC Blue Network. That would later become ABC. The show was sponsored by Ovaltine for its entire national run. By the way, we recently acquired, thanks to your Buy Me a Coffee donations to our show, we acquired some more Captain Midnight, so we'll be having those coming up from time to time. In 1946, Nazi war criminal Hermann Goering, sentenced in Nuremberg for his crimes against humanity.
Defendant Hermann Wilhelm Goering, on the counts of the indictment on which you have been convicted, the International Military Tribunal sentences you to death by hanging.
The second most powerful man in Germany under Adolf Hitler committed suicide the day before he was to be hanged. The Berlin airlift ended on this date in 1949, where the Eastern powers blockaded Berlin, kept them from getting any outside supplies. Well, the U.S. and other allied powers sent food and rations indirectly by air. Navy submarine Nautilus, commissioned as the world's first nuclear-powered vessel on this date in 1954. Film icon James Dean died in a road accident on this date in 1955 at the age of 24. Claiming that the state of Arkansas was now an occupied territory, Arkansas Governor Orville Faubus continued his rhetoric aimed at desegregationists in general and President Eisenhower in particular. His target on this date in 1957, the federalization of the National Guard.
The federal government has made a grave and grievous error in the federalizing of the Guard and the use of federal troops. The troops are even inside the school building, accompanying the Negro students from class to class. This constitutes a serious danger. The impetuous or thoughtless act of a white student could result in his penetration by a bayonet, just as has occurred on the outside of the building.
Governor Faubus lost the war eventually, as all schools were eventually integrated. But recognize, this anti-integration rhetoric wasn't that long ago, just 65 years ago in 1957. Mexican-American labor leader Cesar Chavez founded the United Farm Workers Union in 1962. On that same date in 1962, James Meredith entered the University of Mississippi, defying segregation. The end of the golden age of radio on this date in 1962 at 7 p.m. with the conclusion of Suspense. You will hear those last two radio shows on many of these stations following this hour of classic radio theater, as you will hear yours truly, Johnny Dollar, and Suspense. The Hughes AH-64 Apache helicopter made its first flight on this date in 1975. It was later McDonnell Douglas. It's now Boeing. Due to budget cuts back in 1977, the Apollo program's ALSEP experiment package left on the moon were shut down. And in 2016, two paintings with a combined value of $100 million recovered after having been stolen from the Van Gogh Museum in 2002. Passing away on this date in history, Mary Ford of Les Paul and Mary Ford, the fine musical duet. Edgar Bergen, the voice of Charlie McCarthy, silenced on this date in Las Vegas in 1978. Actress Simone Signoret, Robert Kardashian, Stephen J. Cannell, the screenwriter-producer, and Monty Hall, all passing away on this date in history. This is the birth date of singer, actor, and original tenor on the Jell-O program with Jack Benny, Kenny Baker. Also businessman, segregationist, governor of Georgia, Lester Maddox, born on this date, as was drummer Buddy Rich, actress Deborah Carr, Truman Capote, and Frankie Lyman, all born on this date. Still gorgeous at 91 years of age, Angie Dickinson, fine actress. Whitney Houston's mom, Cissy Houston, 89 today. Johnny Mathis, chances are. Yes, a wonderful voice. Not mine, his. Johnny Mathis, 87 today. The Fifth Dimension's Marilyn McCoo, married to Billy Davis Jr., 79 years old today. Deborah Allen, Baby I Lied, 69 years of age today. Another great singer, the Polish-born singer-songwriter Basia, Time and Tide, 68 years old today. The real Greg Brady, Barry Williams, 68. Got to meet him when he was putting together a stage show at the Riviera Hotel a number of years ago. It was so wonderful to meet him. In fact, I have an autographed copy of his book. The Nanny, Fran Drescher, 65. She did such a wonderful job with that voice. Country's Marty Stewart is 64. From the movie Mask with Cher, and also from Glee, Eric Stoltz, 61 years old. From Wings, Crystal Bernard is 61. From Mean Girls and Party of Five, Lacey Chabert is 40 years old, and comedian Ryan Stout, also 40. Those some of the people celebrating the 30th day of September as their birthday. And if this happens to be your birthday...
Hi, we're the Four Freshmen, and we just want to say... Happy birthday to you.
September 30th, 1949, My Favorite Husband on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on this Friday.
You know, it's true. Difficult times have a way of focusing us. We have to think about what matters most when it comes to our spending, our health care. No doubt. This is why so many people are joining MediShare right now. MediShare is a trusted way to save up to 50% on your monthly healthcare costs. More than 400,000 people have already made the switch. It's pretty obvious why, too, especially now during this challenging season with healthcare costs and out-of-pocket expenses going up. Medishare can save you a lot of money. The typical family saves $500 a month. And Medishare is a Christian healthcare sharing ministry that's worked beautifully for 29 years. There are different options to choose from to fit your budget. I'll give you the number here in a second, and if you call, you can get a price within 2 minutes. Maybe now is the perfect time to make the switch and start saving. Here you go. Call 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, Lucille Ball, Richard Denning in an episode of My Favorite Husband, September 30th, 1949.
It's time for My Favorite Husband, starring Lucille Ball.
Jello, everybody.
Yes, it's the new Gay Family series starring Lucille Ball with Richard Denning, brought to you by the Jello family of desserts.
J-E-L-L. Oh, the big red letters stand for the Jello family. Oh, the big red letters stand for the Jello family. That's Jello.
Yum, yum, yum.
Jello puddings.
Yum, yum, yum.
Jello tapioca puddings. Yes, sirree.
And now Lucille Ball with Richard Denning as Liz and George Cooper. Two people who live together and like it. It's late evening at the Coopers. George is in his easy chair reading a book, and Liz is seated at the typewriter typing away at breakneck speed.
Liz, aren't you finished typing yet?
I just have one more sentence to do.
Oh, you're not going to stay up another hour, are you?
Never mind the cutting remarks. It isn't my fault your typewriter can't spell.
What are you working on, anyway?
I'll read it to you in a minute. You know, I'd have finished hours ago if it wasn't for those darn kids.
What kids?
Oh, probably Mr. Woods. Every 2 minutes they ring the doorbell, and when I answer it, they hide.
I haven't heard it.
You've been reading. There they go again. By gosh, I'll get them this time.
Liz, come back here. That bell is on the typewriter.
On the typewriter?
Sure, see?
Well, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard of. I can understand a bell on a bicycle, but whoever ran over anyone with a typewriter?
It's there in case the secretary falls asleep. It wakes her up when she reaches the end of the line.
Oh.
What were you typing, anyway?
My speech. Now sit up and listen. I want to practice it on you.
What speech is it?
My acceptance speech for the Women's Club election.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. Now you be my audience. Hey, wait a minute. What's that? What are you doing?
Well, I'm trying to sound like your women's club.
Oh. Well, now just sit there.
You, Grace, I love your hat.
George, don't be so authentic.
Okay, go ahead.
Ladies of the Sheridan Falls Women's Club. First, I want to thank everyone who voted for me. You will not be disappointed. I'll do my best to be a good this year. As I pointed out in my campaign speech, I have all the qualifications a good needs. In the first place...
just a minute, Liz.
What?
What are all those pauses? What office were you elected to?
I don't know yet. The election isn't until tomorrow.
Come again?
The election isn't until tomorrow. I just leave the name of the office blank, then I write in whatever I've been elected to, see, and then I read the speech.
Oh, honey, sometimes you amaze me.
Thank you. Now let me finish. In closing, let me say that to be a good, you need, and I have more than any woman in the club. I thank you. Applause, George. Applause.
Hey, for Liz! Oh, she's the best we've ever had. You know, there's only one thing that puzzles me, Liz. What makes you so sure you're going to be elected to an office?
Oh, everybody in our club is an officer.
How many members are there?
25.
And each one holds an office? No, I don't believe it.
It's true. We have a president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, sergeant-at-arms, song leader, chairman of the membership committee, chairman of the Ways and Means committee, social chairman, and chairman of all other committee chairmen, and everybody who isn't one of those automatically becomes a special member at large or her exalted honorary alternate.
what do you think you'll get?
Well, this year I'm sure to be president, vice president, or secretary.
I see you wisely avoided even the thought of being treasurer.
Well, there's no chance of that. Every year we elect Naomi Brubaker. See, her husband's a CPA.
Good move. Now, do you mind if I go to bed, Madam President, Vice President, or Secretary?
No, darling, you go right ahead. I'll practice my speech some more. I wish to thank everyone who voted for me. I'll do my best to be a good this year. I have all the qualifications. Hi, Iris.
Liz, girl, how are you?
When are you going to start the meeting?
Right away. The election committee just handed me a sealed envelope. Girls, may I have your attention?
Well, you're crazy if you think it's natural. Honey, I've seen the roots of her hair up close and... Oh. Pardon me.
I wonder who it could be she was talking about.
Could be any of us. Before I announce the election returns, I have an announcement to make that will sadden all our hearts. Our social chairman has sprained her ankle and will not be able to attend today. I know you all join me when I say, get well quick and hurry back to us, Amelia Freebooter Dernwist. Well, I know you're all anxious to hear the election return, so I won't take any more time. I'll open the envelope and read you the winners.
Liz, what do you bet Iris is elected president again?
Well, why wouldn't she be? She owns the clubhouse furniture, and if she isn't elected, she'll take it home.
Our new president is... Well, this is a surprise.
Congratulations, Iris.
Thank you. Now for the vice president. I'm happy to say we've elected one of our most popular and charming members who is noted as much for her brains as her good looks.
Ladies of Sheridan Falls Women's Club. First, I want to thank everyone who voted for me.
Liz.
What?
Sit down, girl. It isn't you.
Oh.
Our new vice president is Phyllis Brown.
Congratulations, Phyllis.
And you'll be delighted to know you've elected as secretary our most beloved member, a girl who doesn't have an enemy in the world.
Ladies of the Sheridan Falls Women's Club.
Liz.
I want... Not me?
No.
Well, whoever she is, she just made her first enemy.
The new secretary is Marge Van Tassel.
Oh, that's me!
Boo! Order, please.
I'd like to ask a question.
What?
What am I?
Let me answer that. You're a
girl! Let me see, Liz. You've been elected the 25th Honorary Exalted Alternate.
Well, thanks a lot.
Our treasurer-elect is Naomi Brubaker. Naomi?
Girls, I'm afraid I'm going to have to resign from the club as my husband has just been permanently transferred to California.
Oh, that's terrible. Do you have to go with him?
Oh, I'm afraid so.
Well, this leaves the office of treasurer open. Well, there's no sense of having a whole new election. Any volunteers for the office of treasurer? Well, let me put it this way. Is there any one of us who's good at mathematics?
Put it another way, Iris.
Oh, dear, this is a problem. It was so nice having Naomi's husband an accountant.
Liz Cooper's husband is a banker.
Oh, but he...
I nominate Liz Cooper.
I second the motion.
Liz Cooper's been nominated and seconded. All in favor?
Opposed?
Liz Cooper's elected.
Now, wait a minute.
Congratulations, Liz. You're the new treasurer.
But I don't want to be the new...
Liz, you've been elected. This is a democracy. It's the will of the people.
It is not. I'm a people, and I didn't even get to peep.
Quiet, Madam Treasurer. Now, before we go on, I know you'll all join me in a thank you and goodbye to Naomi Brubaker.
Let me say it, please.
Well, all right. That's very sweet, Liz. Go ahead.
We are all going to miss our beloved treasurer. So happy journey, good luck, come back to see us soon, and drop dead Naomi Brubaker.
I don't believe it, Liz. How could people in their right mind elect you treasurer?
Well, you see, George, the girls figured that as long as you're a banker...
Oh, no, you don't. I've had enough trouble with that club of yours. Now, there's only one thing to do. Get out of it some way.
What? You don't think I'm going to resign and let them think I'm stupid?
No. Now, keep the job and remove all doubt.
That's a nasty thing to say.
Look, Liz, you can't even keep your household accounts straight. Now, how are you going to take care of 2 sets of books?
I'll do it just to show you.
Okay. Now, listen. I don't care what happens to the club's books, but if your household accounts aren't perfect at the end of the month, you will not only resign as treasurer, but you'll resign as a member of the club.
Oh, George, you wouldn't make me do that.
Wouldn't I? If your accounts aren't in perfect shape at the end of the month, it's farewell and good luck to our ex-member, Elizabeth Elliott Cooper.
Here, here.
Mrs. Cooper, you've been poring over those ledgers all afternoon. Why don't you stop? Your eyes are all red.
Well, that won't be all that's red if I don't get the club books in shape.
Well, what condition are they in? Fair, medium, poor?
Yeah, keep going.
Rotten, horrible, lousy?
You're not even close yet.
I can't go any farther and still be a lady.
Well, don't try, Katie. There isn't any word for books in this shape because books have never been in this shape before.
Won't Mr. Cooper help you?
Oh, he'd just mess them up worse. You know, he's dying to get me out of the club.
How about Mr. Wood next door? I saw him outside just a few minutes ago.
Oh, that's a wonderful idea. Let's see if he's still there.
September 30th, 1949, My Favorite Husband on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thanks for spending part of your Friday with us here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. We're listening to an episode of My Favorite Husband starring Lucille-Ball and Richard Denning from Friday, September 30th, 1949 at 8:30 in the evening Eastern Time. Now, in the newspapers of that Friday, 73 years ago, these were some of the headlines. President Truman declared in Kansas City last night the Democrat Party will win in 1950 and again in 1952 by campaigning on his Fair Deal program. In a fighting party speech at a testimonial dinner for Democrat National Chairman William M. Bill Boyd, Jr., the president also predicted enactment of his program if it takes all summer, all next winter, and all next summer. He declared that the nation can establish an income upwards of $300 billion annually and an income of $4,000 per family for 1/4 of the population who he said now have less than a $2,000 income per year, and hinted at the appropriate marriage of Vice President Barkley, another speaker, with these words, "I am glad to get the distinguished Vice President to visit someplace in Missouri outside of St. Louis. He's a grand man. I'm exceedingly glad he's about to become a citizen of Missouri." Barkley's frequent dates with Mrs. Carlton Hadley of St. Louis, a widow, had stirred repeated reports that a wedding might be in the offing. The Senate last night approved 2 major bills, one a $5.8 billion bill for foreign economic aid, already approved by the House. The measure now goes to the White House. The other bill was to boost the pay of cabinet members and other top-level government officials. That bill goes to the House, which has approved a bill calling for generally larger salary increases for some 240 key employees. Mrs. Iba Toguri Diaquino, 33, the American-born Tokyo Rose of Japan's wartime radio, convicted yesterday of treason. A 6-man, 6-woman federal court jury found her guilty on one count of betraying her country. They had deliberated her fate over a 4-day period. She will be sentenced Thursday, October 6th. She faces a minimum sentence of 5 years in prison and a $10,000 fine, or a maximum of death for broadcasting inflammatory propaganda over Radio Tokyo to undermine the morale of GIs in the Pacific. The prosecution, however, never demanded the death penalty, and it was believed unlikely that federal judge Michael J. Roche would levy it against her. No convicted traitor ever has been put to death under the federal law, although John Brown of Harper's Ferry was hanged under military law. Rifle fire and dynamite blast echoed through the stripe-ridden coal fields yesterday, and big segments of the steel industry started shutting down in preparation for a strike. U.S. Steel and the CIO United Steelworkers deadlocked in their crucial negotiations, only 1 day away from the strike deadline. Two other major producers, Bethlehem and Republic, broke off their so far futile contract talks with the union. Dynamite blast wrecked non-union mines in Pennsylvania and Kentucky as the strike of 480,000 coal diggers went through its 11th day. Hidden riflemen ambushed a 14-truck coal convoy on Shoe Mountain in central Pennsylvania. Air Force Secretary W. Stuart Symington, speaking in New York yesterday, said man has now flown and lived at speeds hundreds of miles an hour faster than the speed of sound, which is 760 miles an hour at sea level. He continues, this plane, if it had the range, would arrive in San Francisco before it left New York. That will give worry to the timetable experts. And those some of the day's top news stories, as reported in the newspapers of Friday, September 30th, 1949, on your radio, My Favorite Husband, which continues now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Yes, there he is, across the street, talking to that old man.
Say, who is that old man, anyhow? He's been hanging around the neighborhood a lot lately.
I don't know. He looks like a tramp.
Mr. Wood! Mr. Wood, could I see you a minute?
Certainly, Miss Cooper.
I'll bet he can straighten you out in no time.
Yes, Miss Cooper, what is it?
Mr. Wood, do you know anything about mathematics?
I'm a whiz at multiplication.
You are?
Oh, yes, I have 11 children, and I have to hear their times tables every night.
Well, I'm having trouble getting my club books straight.
Well, let's take a look at them and see what the trouble is.
Come in, they're here at the desk.
Oh, yes.
By the way, Mr. Wood, who's that old man you were talking to?
Oh, he's a poor old derelict who's been hanging around. I give him money from time to time.
Oh. Well, here are my books, Mr. Wood. Would you mind taking a quick look and see what the trouble is?
All right. Ooh. Well, first, Mrs. Cooper, what are all these ink marks and splotches along the margin of the ledger?
Oh, that's where I do my figuring after I run out of fingers.
After you run out of fingers?
Yes. See, I count up to 8 on my fingers, and then I write...
8? Don't you have 10 fingers?
Of course I do.
Then why do you only use 8?
What am I going to hold my pen with, my toes?
My mistake. Suppose you show me what you're having trouble with.
Well, it's this column of figures here.
Oh, can't you get an answer to it?
Yeah, that's my trouble. I have 5 answers.
Well, now, Mrs. Cooper, all those answers can't be right.
I know it. I know a column of figures only has 2 right answers. If I could only find out which...
2?
Yes. One when you add from the top to the bottom, and the other when you add from the bottom to the top.
Yes. Let's see where you've made your mistake, Miss... Oh, here it is. 9 and 9 do not make 17.
They don't?
No, 9 and 9 make 18.
Since when?
Forever and ever. And that's, of course, a certain Miss Maloney in the 5th grade lied to me.
Well, I think whoever invented arithmetic was pretty stuffy.
Huh?
Why does one number have to be right? Why can't there be more than one number? Now, let's be progressive about this.
Now, Miss Cooper...
If a person gets a new number and believes in it, let him stick to it. I think there should be a new freedom, a freedom of numbers. Digits of the world arise. Our slogan is 9 and 9 make 17 or fight.
Excuse me, Mrs. Cooper. I think one of the children is calling me.
Oh, don't go, Mr. Wood. Just explain one more thing to me. This item here, $1.50. Where do I put it?
Is it a debit or a credit?
Neither. It's $1.50.
Is it going out or coming in?
It's just sitting there. I don't know what it is.
You have to know in order to make the correct entry.
Entry?
Miss Cooper, is it too late for you to resign?
Oh, all you men are the same. There may be 1 or 2 things wrong, but for your information, I'm the best treasurer the club ever had.
Being a women's club, this is highly possible. But how do you arrive at that conclusion?
Well, I've only been treasurer 2 weeks, and look, I've got a surplus of $4 million.
You didn't write a check for it, did you?
No, but I was dreaming of a very swanky clubhouse.
Miss Cooper, I hate to tell you this, but you'll have to move the decimal point back 7 places.
7 places? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What kind of a clubhouse can you buy for 40 cents?
Maybe you'll have to settle for a club sandwich. Well, goodbye, Mrs. Cooper. I just thought of something I have to do.
Oh, can't you come back when you're finished? How long will it take you?
When do you have to get your books in?
On the 1st.
How do you like that? I'll be busy till the 2nd.
Oh, you're a great help. Now what am I going to do?
September 30th, 1949, My Favorite Husband. The conclusion next on this Friday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Saturday on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, Gerald Moore in The Adventures of Philip Marlowe from 73 years ago, October 1st, 1949, The Tale of the Mermaid. It seems that a traffic accident outside of Marlowe's office leads him to a murder on the waterfront and a mermaid. That'll be coming up on Saturday's Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. But now the conclusion of My Favorite Husband, starring Lucille Ball, September 30th, 1949.
And now back to the Coopers. Well, the fateful first of the month is here, and old Elephant Cooper, the man who never forgets, puts down his breakfast cup of coffee and says to Liz,
Well, Liz, do you know what day this is?
Day? Oh, I almost forgot. Merry Christmas, George.
Come on, I want to look at your household accounts before I go to the office.
Yeah, sure, George. I'd love to show them to you, but you don't have time.
Oh, yes, I do. It's only 8 o'clock.
No, it isn't. Look at the kitchen clock. It's 10 minutes to 9.
Well, that's impossible.
Look at the hall clock. It says 10 minutes to 9, too.
Hey, you're right. Oh, I'd better hurry. Goodbye, dear.
Goodbye.
I wonder what's the matter with my watch.
Okay, Katie, you can turn the clocks back now.
What's this all about, Mrs. Cooper?
I'm in terrible trouble, Katie. My books are $40 short.
Which books, the house or the club?
I don't know. If I make the club come out right, I'm $40 short at home. If I make the household books come out right, I'm $40 short at the club.
Oh.
I have to get that money someplace. Katie, could you?
No.
I didn't think you could.
I wish I was in a position to help you out, Mrs. Cooper.
I know, Katie.
In fact, somebody owes me $50, and if I could collect it, I'd be glad to loan you 40 of it.
Really? Would you? Who owes you the money?
You do.
Oh, that's right. But I have to make some money some way. I wonder if I should answer one of those ads. You know, earn money at home, raise rabbits for fun and profit.
But, Mrs. Cooper, you wouldn't know what to do.
I know. I thought I'd just leave it up to the rabbits. Oh, I got it.
What?
I'll go to the club meeting, read my report, show them the money, dash home and put the money back in my household accounts.
Sure, then both books will balance.
Then next month I'll do the same thing. Katie, if the money doesn't wear out, I can keep this up all winter. And so, fellow members, thanks to your clever treasurer, we now have a surplus of $100, which I will take home for safekeeping.
Oh, isn't that wonderful? Madam President.
The chair recognizes Marge Van Tassel.
Since we have so much money in our treasury, I'd like to suggest that we contribute some of it to the Sheridan Falls Boys Club.
Oh, that's a wonderful thought.
In fact, the Boys Club needs money so badly, I think we should contribute the whole $100.
Oh, that's a horrible thought.
What's the matter with it, Liz? You just said you liked the idea.
Oh, I do, but let's not give the whole amount. As treasurer, I insist we leave something in the treasury. Like, to pick a number at random, $40.
Well, as long as we're doing this, let's do it right.
Yeah.
I move the club contributes $100 to the Sheridan Falls Boys Club.
I second the motion.
All those in favor signify.
Now, just a minute. I want more discussion.
Well, what's there to discuss?
Well, for instance, what are they going to do with this money? I have a right to know where our money's going.
Oh, Liz, you know as well as I do. It's for little boys.
Yes, and if I know little boys, they'll take that money out and spend it on little girls.
It's been moved and seconded. We make this donation. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No!
The motion is carried.
I demand a recount.
Liz, the motion is carried, and we're going to give that $100 to the boys' club. It's all over.
It is?
Yes. And as long as you have the money with you, I think you should take it over and present it to them right now.
Me?
Well, that's the treasurer's duty. And frankly, I'm surprised at you, Liz. The way you act, you'd think the money belonged to you.
Yeah, wouldn't you?
What's the matter, Mrs. Cooper? You've been pacing around the house like a caged tiger for hours.
Oh, Katie, I have a confession to make. I didn't give the whole $100 to the boys' club. I kept 40 of it.
Well, it was your money.
No, it wasn't. It belonged to them. My conscience is killing me, Katie. And the boys' club is already closed.
You can give it back to them tomorrow.
Oh, I can't wait that long. I have to get rid of it. I'm going to throw it out the window.
Which window?
No, I have a better idea. One charity is as good as another, isn't it?
I suppose so.
Well, I'm going out and give it to the first needy person I see. Well, I don't have to go far. There's that poor old bum Mr. Wood was talking to.
Wait, let me call my first husband, Clarence. He's twice as big a bum as that fella is.
No, get him. Katie, call him over.
All right. Yoo-hoo, mister! You, come here a minute.
What do you want, lady?
Mrs. Cooper wants to see you.
All right.
Here, my good man. Here's $40. Goodbye.
Hey, wait a minute, lady. What's this for?
Just because. Goodbye.
Just because?
Yes.
Aren't you making a mistake?
No. Goodbye. Oh, Katie, I'm clean again.
I'll say you are.
Oh, I feel much better. When George comes home tonight, I'm going to face the music and take it like a man. Katie, what's the matter with George? Dinner's been over half an hour and he hasn't asked to see the books yet.
You're awful anxious to rush to the gallows, Mrs. Cooper. Maybe he forgot.
Gee, do you think so?
Liz, come in and bring your books with you.
Well, goodbye, Katie. It looks like this is it.
Goodbye, Mrs. Cooper. Be brave.
I will. I feel just like Liz of Arc. Farewell, Katie. The executioner awaits.
Oh, I'm going to my room. I can't stand to see this.
Here I am, George.
Well, Liz, are you ready?
Yes, George.
Do your books balance?
George, do what you will to me. I face you with a clear conscience. Here are my books. You'll find that there is a... Oh, I'll get it. Maybe it's a reprieve from the governor. Yes?
Hello, Mrs. Cooper.
Oh, you.
Here you are, $740.
For me?
Yeah, I don't know how you pick 'em, but just because romped home at Belmont and paid 16 to 1.
No! Well, George, don't just stand there. Let's look at my books. George, wake up.
What's the matter?
I just had a terrible dream. I was stranded in the middle of the desert, and the sun was beating down. It was blazing hot, and there was no water at all. And my throat was so dry I could hardly talk.
Liz, you aren't hinting for me to get up and get you a drink of water, are you?
No, I was dry and hot, and I hadn't had anything to eat for days but pure salt. My throat was parched, and the sun beat down, and... George, where are you going?
You made me thirsty. I'm going to get a drink of water.
Oh. Well, as long as you're up, will you get me one, dear?
Sure. Of course I can.
Well,
Here you are.
that isn't a glass of water, George.
No, it's a whole pitcher. You asked for it, and you're going to get it.
Ow! No, George! No! Oh! Good night, George.
Our country is building the best trained, best educated peacetime armed forces in history. And there's a great career for the volunteer. Today's United States Armed Forces constitute the world's greatest scientific enterprise. And today's serviceman is a skilled professional who works with advanced techniques and equipment in specialized fields, from push-button flying to television, From jet propulsion to pathological research, the educational opportunity is unlimited, and the serviceman is trained in the world's best technical schools. Yes, the armed forces offer a great career to the volunteer. You have been listening to My Favorite Husband, starring Lucille Ball with Richard Denning, and based on characters created by Isabel Scott Rorick. Tonight's program was produced and directed by Jess Oppenheimer, who wrote the script with Madeline Pugh and Bob Carroll Jr. Original music was composed by Marlon Skiles and conducted by Wilbur Hatch. The part of Katie the Maid was played by Ruth Parrott. Watch for Lucille Ball in the Columbia picture Miss Grant Takes Richmond. And be sure to listen to Lucille Ball in My Favorite Husband again next week, presented by
J-E-L-L. Oh, the big red letters stand for the Jell-O family. Oh, the big red letters stand for the Jell-O family. That's Jell-O.
Yum, yum, yum.
Jell-O pudding. Yum, yum, yum. Jell-O tapioca pudding. Yes, sirree.
This is Bob Lamont speaking. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
And by the way, if it sounds like an I Love Lucy episode, you have to remember that many of the writers and editors on this show were also brought along with Lucille Ball to do I Love Lucy. So that's why it sounds very familiar. September 30th, 1949, My Favorite Husband on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. If you miss a day on this station, you don't have to miss a single show. All of our shows are available at our webpage, classicradio.stream. Stream our shows, learn more about building a classic radio collection of your own, find our social media links, and you can even contact me. And if you want to, you can buy me a coffee. We'll take that Buy Me a Coffee money and plow it into acquiring more great classic radio collections. Greatly appreciated. ClassicRadio.stream. Thank this station, support their advertisers, and have a great weekend. And tell your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite station.